France's nuclear weapons stockpile pales into insignificance compared to that of the United States and Russia.
Somewhere beneath the Atlantic Ocean, deeper than sunlight reaches, a French submarine glides in absolute silence. Inside its hull, 16 M51.3 ballistic missiles. Inside each missile, multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles carrying nuclear warheads. Total destructive capacity aboard this single boat, enough to obliterate dozens of cities. The crew doesn't know exactly where they are. That's intentional. The outside world doesn't know where they are. That's strategic. And somewhere in Paris, the president holds the codes that could turn this silent machine into Armageddon. France has maintained continuous at-sea nuclear deterrence since 1972, over 500 patrols spanning 52 years. At any moment, one submarine is on patrol, one is preparing, one is returning, one is in maintenance. The cycle never breaks. When Le Téméraire completed Patrol 500 in July 2018, it marked nearly half a century of France ensuring that no matter what happens on land, no matter which armies march where, there is always a submarine somewhere in the world's oceans capable of ending civilization as we know it if France's vital interests are threatened. This is why France is impossible to invade in 2026. Not because its army is the largest, it isn't. Not because its borders are impenetrable, they're not. But because invading France means accepting that your nation's capital, your leadership, your industrial centers could vanish in nuclear fire before your tanks reach Paris. And that's a price no rational adversary will pay. If you want to understand how nuclear deterrence shapes modern geopolitics and makes certain nations genuinely uninvadable, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This is strategic power at its most absolute. Let's start with the foundation that makes everything else irrelevant. France operates approximately 290 nuclear warheads across two delivery systems: submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs, and air-launched cruise missiles. According to the House of Commons Library analysis, fewer than 300 nuclear warheads, all of which are deployed and operational. No storage, no reserves. Everything is ready. The submarine force forms the backbone, roughly 240 warheads assigned to 48 M51 missiles aboard 4 Triomphant-class SSBNs, Le Triomphant, Le Téméraire, Le Vigilant, and Le Terrible. Each submarine carries 16 missiles. Each missile carries multiple warheads with MIRV capability, meaning one missile can hit multiple cities simultaneously. The M51.3 version, fully operational in 2026 according to defense reports, features high degree of accuracy, better penetration, and capability to carry several independently targetable re-entry vehicles. The M51 has a range exceeding 10,000 kilometers. From patrol stations in the Atlantic, French submarines can target Moscow, Beijing, Tehran, Pyongyang, anywhere on Earth. According to French nuclear doctrine, this creates permanent second strike capability, meaning even if France were completely destroyed in a surprise attack, the submarine at sea would survive and retaliate. The air component provides tactical flexibility. Approximately 50 ASMPA, Air Sol Moyen Portée Améliorée, nuclear cruise missiles are deployed on Rafale fighters operated by both the Air Force and Navy. These aren't strategic city killers. These are pre-strategic or final warning weapons designed for a limited nuclear strike to signal resolve and restore deterrence before escalating to full strategic exchange. According to President Macron's 2020 defense strategy speech, France can conduct a dernier avertissement, a final warning strike demonstrating willingness to use nuclear weapons without immediately annihilating the adversary's entire nation. This creates escalation options between conventional defeat and mutual assured destruction. By 2035, France will deploy the ASN-4G hypersonic air-launched missile with over 1,000-kilometer range, compressing warning times and complicating enemy defenses. Hypersonic flight tests begin around 2028. This ensures the air leg remains credible even as missile defense technology advances. But let's play devil's advocate. Suppose an adversary accepts nuclear annihilation risk. Could they physically invade France? Look at the geography. France is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean to the west, the Mediterranean to the south, the Pyrenees Mountains separating it from Spain, the Alps blocking Italy and Switzerland, and only relatively open terrain facing Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany to the northeast. History teaches brutal lessons about invading France through that northeastern corridor. Germany tried it twice in the 20th century. In 1914, the Schlieffen Plan called for rapid advance through Belgium, expecting to reach Paris within weeks. It took 4 years, 1.4 million French casualties, and German defeat. In 1940, Germany succeeded, bypassing the Maginot Line through the Ardennes, but required overwhelming mechanized superiority, air dominance, and French strategic incompetence to pull it off. Modern France wouldn't make those mistakes. According to the 2024 to 2030 military programming law allocating 413 billion euros, France is investing heavily in very high altitude domain defense, 20 to 100 kilometers altitude, reviving the Nostradamus over-the-horizon radar program to detect hypersonic threats, and deploying 8 to 12 SAMP/TNG surface-to-air missile batteries by 2030 to 2035 with MBDA Aster 30B1NT interceptors. France's conventional forces, though smaller than Cold War levels, are highly professional, well-equipped, and designed for rapid deployment. The Army operates Leclerc main battle tanks, Caesar self-propelled howitzers, proven in Ukraine, and approximately 200,000 active personnel. The Air Force fields 48 Rafale fighters for conventional operations, Eurofighter Typhoons, and advanced reconnaissance assets. The Navy operates the Charles de Gaulle nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, one of only 10 operational carriers globally, giving France power projection capability most European nations lack. But here's the kicker. France doesn't need to win a conventional war. France just needs to hold long enough for nuclear escalation to become inevitable. And no adversary can cross French borders without triggering that calculus. Now add NATO into the equation. France joined NATO in 1949, left the Integrated Military Command in 1966 under de Gaulle to preserve nuclear independence, and rejoined in 2009 under Sarkozy. France remains a full NATO member bound by Article 5 collective defense. This creates a paradox for any potential invader. Attacking France triggers not just French nuclear retaliation, but NATO's collective response, including American nuclear umbrella, British nuclear forces, and the combined conventional might of 32 nations. According to French nuclear policy documents, France maintains 2 nuclear targeting plans, one national for independent French deterrence, and one coordinated with NATO for alliance scenarios. The US provided technical assistance to France's nuclear program from the 1970s through 1980s. Secret cooperation, unlike the open UK relationship. According to declassified documents, areas of cooperation included MIRV technology, radiation hardening, missile design, intelligence on Soviet anti-missile defenses, and advanced computer technology. This created interoperability at the nuclear level while preserving French independence. President Macron has floated the idea of extending France's nuclear umbrella to EU partners, opening a strategic dialogue on European defense. While France maintains absolute sovereignty over launch decisions, the political signaling suggests France views its deterrent as protecting not just French territory, but European vital interests. The strategic implication? Invading France means fighting not just 200,000 French troops, but potentially millions of NATO soldiers backed by American air power, British naval power, Polish armor, and the combined defense industrial base of the Western world. And somewhere during that fight, French nuclear weapons enter the equation. Unlike most NATO members, France maintains complete autonomy in nuclear weapons design, production, and deployment. According to House of Commons analysis, French insistence of independence in all aspects of design and acquisition has meant significantly higher costs. France spends approximately 12.5% of its defense budget, 5.6 billion euros annually, on nuclear deterrence, compared to the UK's 6%. But that premium buys strategic independence. France doesn't rely on American uranium enrichment, British warhead designs, or foreign delivery systems. French submarines are built at Cherbourg, M51 missiles are manufactured domestically, Rafale fighters come from Dassault Aviation, ASMPA missiles from MBDA, warheads from Atomic Energy Commission facilities at Val-Duc. This matters because France cannot be cut off from its deterrent through sanctions, embargoes, or diplomatic pressure. When the Nixon administration supported French nuclear development in the 1970s, it was acknowledging that France had already achieved the technological capacity to build weapons with or without American help, so cooperation was preferable to exclusion. The next generation SNLE 3G submarine begins hull fabrication this decade with initial operational capability expected 2032 to 2033, ensuring continuous at-sea deterrence through the century. France is also developing sixth-generation combat aircraft, FCAS, jointly with Germany and Spain, with potential nuclear capabilities. The industrial pipeline never stops. Here's where French nuclear strategy becomes psychologically devastating for potential adversaries: deliberate ambiguity about what triggers nuclear use. According to the 2013 Defense White Paper, French nuclear doctrine is strictly defensive, and nuclear use would only be conceivable in extreme circumstances of legitimate self-defense involving vital interests. But what are vital interests? France won't say precisely. President Macron mentioned a European dimension in 2020, implying vital interests extend beyond French soil. Senior officials have stated the geographic scope of French vital interests protected by nuclear deterrence is not limited to French territory. This creates strategic uncertainty. An adversary planning invasion cannot know where France draws the red line. Is it French borders, French cities, French military forces, EU territory, NATO allies? The ambiguity forces adversaries to assume the worst, that any significant aggression could trigger nuclear escalation. The final warning doctrine adds another layer. France reserves the right to conduct a limited nuclear strike, not to destroy the enemy, but to demonstrate resolve and create an off-ramp before full strategic exchange. According to defense analysts, this could mean a single nuclear weapon detonated on enemy territory, military installations, or even international waters as a demonstration. The psychological effect is profound. France can escalate to nuclear use without immediately ending civilization, creating intermediate steps between conventional defeat and mutual annihilation. So why is France impossible to invade in 2026? Let's do the math. Geographic barriers force invaders into predictable corridors where conventional forces can concentrate. Professional military with 64 billion euros annual budget, rising to 64 billion euros by 2027, provides credible conventional defense. NATO Article 5 brings 32 nations and American nuclear umbrella into any conflict. 290 nuclear warheads deployed on submarines and aircraft guarantee second strike retaliation. Continuous at-sea deterrence since 1972 ensures survivability even after surprise attack. Calculated ambiguity about red lines forces adversaries to assume worst-case nuclear escalation. Industrial autonomy eliminates foreign dependency on deterrent capability. The result? No rational adversary will attempt invasion because the cost-benefit calculation is insane. Conventional victory is uncertain against NATO. Nuclear escalation is inevitable if France faces existential threat. And even if you somehow occupied Paris, a submarine somewhere in the Atlantic ensures your capital burns. That's not defense, that's deterrence at its most absolute. France doesn't need to win wars. France just needs to ensure losing a war costs more than any adversary will pay. And with 290 nuclear warheads capable of destroying dozens of cities, 52 years of continuous at-sea deterrence, and absolute sovereignty over launch decisions, France has ensured that invasion equals national suicide for the attacker. Welcome to nuclear deterrence in 2026, where submarines never sleep, where one nation's insurance policy is another's nightmare, and where France remains uninvadable not through military strength alone, but through the credible promise of mutual annihilation. Do you think nuclear deterrence makes war between nuclear powers impossible, or just changes how it's fought? Share your thoughts in the comments. For more analysis on nuclear strategy and modern deterrence, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.